to chit chat about your experiences and some of the lessons you want to share, some of the, we'll see where the conversation takes us.
Okay.
Um, do you want to start by telling how you died? What happened?
Oh, well, okay. Um,
I know you've done it a million times.
yeah, a million times. So yeah, my near-death experience was back in 1994. It happened in December 1994. And I had one season of working on sailboats under my belt, down in the Caribbean. Oh my God. It was like I fell in love with the sea. I fell in love with being on boats. I fell in love with that salt air and the
Mm.
tropics. And who knew that a person like me coming from like the other side of the tracks in, Redneckville, Northern California, it just, sorry, California, but it's just one of those things. Um, who knew that that was ever a possibility for me ever? So I was just living my life, doing my thing. And I got on a boat and um, was projected to work for, that season of, 94, 95. Got on a boat with a captain, wasn't a very nice human being, but I thought, you know what? It's a job. And who knows, somebody else might offer me something along the way and I can jump ship and go, do another thing. People do it all the time. And captains are notorious for being just assholes.
I think maybe that's where the saying came from, jump ship, because you literally did that, like literally.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the captain was away. He had to go and do something on another boat. It was like dealing with a delivery or something like that. So I was in charge of taking care of the boat and doing the chores. And I got all my chores done for that day. And then I had been invited to a South African wedding celebration or wedding announcement celebration. So it was a boat full of South Africans, by the way. And so I had gone out and it was in the evening and everything, and I knew that I was taking care of a boat, on my job, so I couldn't stay out late. So I think I had a champagne celebration toast drink with them, and hung out for a couple of hours, whatever, and then I was getting ready to leave at 11, and you South Africans know how to party, so 11 o'clock is a little early. Especially if you're working on boats. That's a little bit early. But I'm like, I got to make sure the anchor doesn't drag or do whatever. So I got out there, got ready to leave the boat, and started the outboard and walked forward in the dinghy because the dinghy is our car, right? That's our car. That's how we get to and from shore and all that. And you never untie before the engine started, the motor started, because you'll run adrift and be in trouble. You have always that possibility. And so I walked forward to do that, and on my way back, that outboard had vibrated itself into gear, and it full on gear, like so. So it did a upended and threw me off the back, and then just proceeded to do 360s over the top of my head. So I went under I mean, outboard, it was a 40 horsepower, very strong motor, and it's doing this in a hard bottom dinghy. So it's hitting me over and over, right? And um, I don't recall there was no pain. I don't recall, there was no, I didn't hear anything.
There was
I
no panic.
There's no panic. There's no fear. I was out of my body at
Mm.
that point. And for, some people ask, well, how long were you out? Well, hell, I don't know. I was busy dying. So
Yeah, and
I'm
the
not gonna,
time is so fluid anyway,
it
when
doesn't
you're in that
exist.
state.
yeah, the time doesn't exist on that side. So, but to tell you what I do recall, and I do recall being underwater, and I do recall the light. And to describe the light is you can't really put words to it. It
Yeah.
was the most incredibly bright, like like a floodlight on me. And I was outside of my body floating around my, like, I guess I was floating, I don't know, but I was going around my body that was underwater, um, not seeing any of the turmoil going on top of me or anything like that. I saw no blood, but there was blood everywhere. But I saw no blood. I saw my body and that beautiful light. And I kept wondering, like, well, I don't know if I was even wondering. I'm just going around and I'm noting my body there. And for however long, I don't really know. Um, again, sensing nothing but pure peace and pure love, like, whew, just all encompassing, you know? I've never felt anything like that alive,
Mm.
ever. I've never come close to feeling anything like that. Um, and then I remember um, seeing this, and we all see different weird things during our experiences. So who knows what it all means. But I remember seeing this ginormous arm, like making me like this little speck spit of a thing. But I saw this ginormous arm reach down, and and I the thought is to the speaking over there is telepathy. So all I had to do was think to be there, you know. So I didn't experience swimming over to the
Mm.
arm or trying to walk over to the arm or none of that. I just was there. How I got there, I was there. I thought it, I was there, and then I held on.
Like an instant manifestation, but you didn't even have to think about it. It was just
I thought, and I was
instant.
there. Yeah. I saw it, I thought, and I was there. So, yeah, I was hanging on to this arm and not in fear, not in anything. I was just kind of there. And I remember feeling this, like, when a child falls down and, you pat the kid on the head, like, it's okay, you're
Yeah.
okay. The kid's like, ah. Well,
Mm.
I wasn't, crying or anything like that, but I felt that pat on the back of my head, like, it's okay. I heard you're going to be okay. It's okay,
Mm.
you know. And then, for however long I stayed like that, I don't recall, of course, the time thing. And then I woke up in I woke up in the dinghy. They had gotten me away from the boat. Now, that was a thing in itself. They really risked, these guys risked their lives to save mine because it was quite dangerous. And one person got in the water hanging on to the boarding ladder to try to reach me. He couldn't reach me. Now, mind you, the boat's still doing this, circles, circles,
Mm.
circles. Propellers are sharp, right?
Yes.
Propellers are sharp, and he couldn't reach me. So another person got in in the water, held onto the ladder, and then extended and held onto him, so he could have a
Mm.
little bit of a little more reach to try to get me. How long that all took, I don't know, but they were able to get me. Um, I was down, and however, I don't know how they got me in the dinghy. But I woke up in the dinghy and I remember looking up and seeing my friend Tracy, and I said, "Where are we going? Where are we going?" And she's like, "You idiot! We're taking you to the hospital." you know, Blood everywhere. My face is sliced open.
Oh
My
no.
arm is almost cut off. Yeah, the boat propeller went through my face, shoved all my teeth up here into the sinus cavity, busted the orbit that my eye, just fractured that orbit in several places. took the wall the eye sits on, that was gone, tore the retina from the iris, um, nearly sliced my arm off. So my left arm, everything was left arm. So my arm must have come up this way, and you could
Yeah.
see that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so my eye ended up, the vision out of that eye was like a kaleidoscope, you know.
Wow.
I couldn't see. It was like four of everything in my left eye.
Mm.
And yeah, now listen, this is the Caribbean. And getting to the hospital took a long time. And even though
Mm.
it would have been a 10-minute walk, to get an ambulance there, it was St. Thomas. And it exists. I'm white and on a very West Indian island, and not probably first priority. They called the surgeon around, I guess, 11:30. By the time I got to the hospital, somewhere around there, he didn't show up until 7:30 or so the next morning. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was bizarre. Yeah, I mean, you can't make that stuff up. And then I was 2 weeks in that hospital. They ran out of pain medicine. I couldn't eat because this was just a mishmash. And one thing I did do in that hospital was, I mean, I could get up and walk. You
Mm.
know, things were a little wonky, but I could get up and walk. And I remember going to the emergency room one night in the middle of the night and walking down there. I wanted to meet there was only one nurse on staff in that emergency room that night. One. And I was a traveling nurse. I think he was a traveling nurse. And he's the one who saved my life, really, you know. So putting me, you know, getting him and my friends got me on the what's the tube thing that you go on? MRI, right?
Mm.
Yeah, got me on there and just they did whatever they did. But anyways, long story short, it was 2 weeks of craziness in that and during that time. The death itself, a beautiful experience,
Mm.
just beautiful.
Mm.
Um, I'm glad in one way that I was able to experience that and come out of it. And it sounds weird to say it because a lot happened. There was a lot of trauma there.
Mm.
Um, and nightmares and things like that, and it took 13 surgeries to and several years to get my face kind of back together and you know things like that, but those
And
things,
how's your vision in your eye?
it's still wonky, but I don't I see it's a second image instead of four. I got two, so
Okay. So
not too
yeah,
bad, much
it's
better.
half. It's only half bad.
It's okay, I got another one. It's okay. That part's all good. Yeah. Yeah. So, um, yeah. And then, all the stuff that comes along with having your face dismembered, like just, and being a young woman,
Yes, you were young.
I was 29 when it
Mm.
happened.
Yeah.
And, not married, and so all these things go through. I have no feeling on my face from here up, so it severed one of the nerves in my face, and that never grew back. And so oddly enough, uh and it sounds so vain, and it is a little. I mean, worse things could have happened, but you think about, will I ever have a relationship again because of the way I look? You know,
Mhm.
it's
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
You have to edit this part out.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you're beautiful. And when I met you for the first time, before you even told me your story, I didn't know you had reconstructive surgery on your face. You don't look it at
Yeah,
all.
it's definitely there. Let me get a tissue and then dry my silly old eyes because that's an important point, and I don't want to mess it up. So, see, I shouldn't have put makeup on, and I wouldn't have mattered.
It's okay.
Silliness. 30 years and it still gets me.
It's okay.
Okay. It actually, it was one of the things that bothered me um, the most. Just again, like I said, being a woman,
Mm,
and that industry, especially that I was working in, because everybody's pretty, right?
yeah,
Right? They're working on the yachts and they're beautiful and they're tan and they're this and that. And
yeah.
I was, I mean, I could get by. I was rough around the edges, but I could get by. You know what I
I
mean?
doubt that. I
Right.
doubt you would rough it on the edges.
Oh,
No,
scrapper.
no, you're beautiful.
But
I
it's one of
think
those,
I think maybe it's just, the trauma of what happened made you feel less beautiful, but you never it's the beauty never went away, you know?
here's what I learned. And I didn't learn it until much later. And it's probably one of the lessons that is, I would say, most important is that even though the scars are there and all the stuff happened, isn't it silly that it would bother me? Like the boat propeller went through my face. Like, come on. It sliced me up inside. And how is it that it would matter that much to me if I ever had a romantic relationship? Is that not the stupidest thing ever? But I was young and it was one of those things that crossed my mind. I'm like, oh my God, you know? And don't you know that it ended up being a challenge being in the business and not, and I mean, I've filled out with age, I'm not as skinny here as I used to be. And so things look different now. But then when you're thinner and everything stands out, so applying for jobs or interviewing for jobs on boats was and then having them know the history of what happened because people blame and they judge, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just it was one of those things that it did come up. It did come up. Yeah, the way I looked mattered. And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality, you know. um is that light too bright? Are you
No, it's fine.
okay? Um, yeah, so anyway, la la la, suck it up. It happened to be one of those things that really crossed my mind and had a huge impact on me moving forward. Um,
Mm,
could I have a relationship? Could I kiss somebody not having feeling on that side of my face? Would I be able to, kiss somebody? Would I be able to smile again? The doctor told me I'd never be able to smile again. A doctor told me I'd never smile again. I want to go back and smack that guy in the head, you know?
and then smile at him.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, such a crack up. But yeah, there's a lot to it. Um, physically, that aspect of what happens to your body when you go through something like that. But the 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 lesson about understanding my energy, being an energetic being, because
Yeah.
people will say, well, I don't see your scars. I don't see your scars. Well, dude, let me just tell you, I've done a lot of work on myself. So it's not, you don't see what's actually there because of my energy. Has
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So
Because that was what I was gonna ask you. How the physical, obviously, extremely traumatic. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I can only imagine what you've been through and still go through till today. But how do you feel mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Do you still have moments of I wish that never happened to me? Or do you always just go back to the feeling of being in the light? Like, how do you deal with that emotionally, mentally? You know?
every day I look in the mirror and I see everything, all the little things. And as I age, things are more notable, and things have, even though the surgeries on the inside were fine back then, but things have changed on the inside as I'm an older woman. Um, and so every day I see the physicality of what it has done to my body. And then I let it go. I'll let myself have it for a moment. It's usually if I'm doing makeup and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Hmm. Let's see. What can I fix, and
Mhm.
try to make it even looking, you know what I mean? And that's not a whiny, poor me thing. It's just a girl thing, like whatever. We all have our flaws and our things going on. So it's just one of those things. But um, I don't pay attention to it when I'm doing the spiritual work. When I'm
Mm,
sitting when I'm sitting at a booth, at a spirit festival, and I'm doing readings for people all day, making spirit connection, connecting their loved ones from the other side to the person sitting in front of me. None of this matters.
yeah.
This doesn't matter. This shell that I'm in, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. What matters is me being able to build that power that I am
Mm,
and push it out and strengthen it and make it comfortable for the blending of spirit with my energy, right? That's what matters. So,
mm,
yeah, I go there. Do I have my moments? Yes, I do. Are you kidding me? You know, this
mm,
sags, that sags, that's wrinkly. Oh, yeah, I got that stuff going on. You know what I mean? I have my moment and then I let it go. I don't sit there and whine about it all day.
mm,
And then I try to do just the best I can. And what really helps me is doing readings for people and giving them the ability and giving spirit the ability have that voice,
mm.
so it's the most it's just the most awe-inspiring,
Yeah.
thing. It's so personal and it's so beautiful. And it makes people cry and it makes people laugh, and that's where the
Yeah.
healing comes in, right?
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
just for the
Because
person, but for spirit. They get the healing because they get to, have their loved one hear those words, right? It's beautiful.
yeah. Yeah, because being human is not easy, and we go through so many things, and we continue to go through so many things, and it's not like, oh, poor me again. It's
Right.
it's just the reality of being human. We decided to have transformation through this experience. So you're gonna have it. You're gonna have the transformation. It's gonna happen. And that's
Yeah.
not always easy. Um, and it's the reminders. I'm noticing lately the reminders. So that's why I love the work that I do, because I'm reminded daily when I speak to you, when I speak to the others. Tell me about source, tell me about the feeling, tell me about the light. Because even though I didn't have a near death experience, I almost feel as if I am being reminded of what it's like to be in spirit and what it's like to be connected. And
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's an addicting feeling. You don't want to be without it. You don't want to be not connected when you know how good it feels to be connected, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I would love nothing more than just to do readings for people all day or to do gallery work for groups, large groups of people, so that the people who are fearful about death, um, so that they can see firsthand this is how easy it is to make the connection. You know, they're right there. We don't die, they're still with us. Those loved ones are still with us. And I mean, I'd had reading after reading after reading that, I mean, it's just so beautiful. I remember, so this past weekend, I was at a Spirit Fest, and although it was a very slow event, it's brutally slow because it was a new venue and all of that. But I was able to, the first person that sat down was referred to me, you know, and she sat down and I really want to connect with my son and all of that. And I said, don't tell me anything else. Just let me just open up and see, because spirit has another idea. The squeaky
Mm,
wheel gets the grease, right? So your
mm,
son may come through, he may not come through, but
mm,
let's see what happens.
mm,
So don't you know, her sister came through first, and what a party girl. That girl was fun. I mean, she was fun. So when spirit comes in, they make me feel that feeling of when they were alive, like, oh my God,
mm,
I want to sit down and have a cocktail with her because she is so much
mm.
fun. She's laughing and she's cracking jokes on her sister, and she's giving me this information, and just a total blast, total blast. That elevated me, and that
Mm,
elevated my clients.
mm,
So our vibration went up even higher than it
mm,
already
mm.
was. And then comes the sun. Okay,
Yeah.
here comes the sun. And I was like, okay, we just needed to lighten up a little bit. And he
Yeah.
was able to come through, and what a hot ticket he was. So just a flirt, and gave me all his body, the way that he would present himself, and gorgeous, and the whole, just another fun spirit. um so that those moments, um working mediumistically, it's one of my favorite things to do. You can do psychic all day long and blah, blah, blah. And what's going to happen in my life, what's going on with my life, what's, this, what's that. Well, that gets old. I would rather do the mediumship stuff,
Mhm,
just because I know what it's doing,
mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
because so often you give the psychic readings and their team comes in, my team's there, my spirit team, and they get the guidance and they don't listen to it. So they
Yeah.
just keep on going, doing the
Yeah.
thing they were doing. Ugh, it's,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. I will get readings and then I don't take the advice. And then I will be like, oh, nothing's working, and make excuses and whatever. So I get it. And I think it's because you don't take it as real. Like, this is not a doctor. This is a ghost telling me that I should, drink more water and whatever.
spirit.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. But
Spirit.
you think of it like you don't even think of it like this is guidance from spirit. You think it's just, a ghost. It's just my granddad. It was just so and so or whatever. So that's why we don't take it seriously. But lately, I don't play around with it. When I get messages and guidance, whether it be through a medium or whether it be just randomly, I hear something and I know it's for me, I
Mhm.
listen. I listen.
Yeah.
So and I would encourage people to start paying attention to their intuition because if you cannot hear for yourself, it will come through other people. The messages will get to you. You just
Yeah.
need to listen, you know.
Yeah.
But another thing I find fascinating, and don't you find it fascinating as well? The personality when you are alive and human, it's the same when you in spirit.
Yeah. It can be the same, but not always, because there are some spirits that come through, loved ones that come through, and maybe they were not so nice in this
Yeah.
life, or they were abusive, or they were this, or they were that, and they come through. Typically, those ones come through, yeah, with a body language showing me their hands are in their pocket, their head is down. And that's my
Mm,
symbol for, oh shit, he's got some stuff to apologize for, and, ask for forgiveness
mm,
and that sort of thing. So here is a moment where the client, or the sitter, as we call them, the client, can accept this message from the spirit, or
mm,
if they had happened to have a bad relationship with them, they may not allow them, to say what they need to say. So I always tell people, look, if somebody that you didn't have a great time with, maybe your abuser or whatever, is coming through, there's a reason. So maybe just listen half a second, you know.
mm,
And always the accountability, because we have to process on the other side those things that we did that were not so nice, right?
mm,
So, doing harm to others, or, being a certain way,
mm,
um, we we have to process that and have the understanding of what it feels like from the victim perspective, like how you made them feel. That's what it feels like. So
mm,
it's very interesting, but it takes courage to allow them through. I'll never forget. Janet Nohavik was my tutor when I went to Arthur Findlay College. I only went for a week over there in Stansted, England, and that's all I could afford, or I would have gone along, a lot more. But it gets pricey. So I got in Janet's class. Just that's where they put me. I didn't know who she was.
mm,
Ex-Catholic nun from New Jersey. And she was a little spitfire. She's on the other side now. And she was a great mentor that week. I mean, amazing. So she showed us those, showed us the that we had the ability um, to choose the words,
mm,
that Spirit's giving us, knowing how it's going to affect the sitter. Um,
mm, mm, mm.
you know, choose the
How it's going
verbiage
to be received, like what those words will actually mean
so it
for
doesn't
them.
impact the client, the sitter, in a bad way, in
Mm,
a hurtful way, or
right.
any of that. So I learned from her to first and foremost set boundaries, with spirit, and there are certain things that are not allowed, and
Mm,
there are certain things that, pay attention to the person sitting in front of you. Are they okay with the
mm,
message coming through? Are they okay?
mm,
That's the biggest thing. Working ethically, with people, and with spirit is priority.
mm,
Absolute priority. And I learned that from Janet, and I learned that also from a couple of other mentors. But um, it was just an amazing, amazing experience. There are a lot of things that you have to think about, and there are people out there, readers out there, mediums or psychics out there, who feel their strength in their practice, and they just blurt out messages. And to me, not
yeah, it
without
can be irresponsible.
you have a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And to me, it's important to work ethically. And for me, I don't read somebody, I don't plug into somebody without their permission.
Mm,
I just don't.
mm,
It's not okay.
yeah.
It's just not
I
okay.
agree with that. I agree with that. And a lot of people don't talk about it because it's kind of unseen factors again. So you don't even, think to mention it. Do
Yeah.
you remember what your first ever reading you did? Do you remember it?
Well, I did a lot of channeling with a collective. Um, I would call those my training wheels, from about 2005 to about 2018 when I actually found out that I was a medium. I
Mm,
had no idea. I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was even possible for me. And so yeah, in Janet's class, that was really the first one. So I'll tell you that one. I'll never forget it. And I went last. So there were about 16 people in class. I had no idea. Others, everybody else in that class, they knew exactly what they were getting into. It was a platform mediumship class. I, I, I had no idea. So I'm like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this. I don't know why I'm here. I'm going to make a mess of things. And I was so nervous. And so you had to get up in front of class. And I went last because I just don't. And I looked over at Janet and I said, I have never done this before.
mm,
So, mm, you know, and so she's like, it's okay. We'll just, you just stand there, hold the space, hold the energy, and, you know, push that energy out and allow spirit to come in a little closer. You may start to see something, you may start to feel something, and the whole class is looking at you, right?
mm,
And I was looking down and I remember seeing these really beautiful Italian shoes, Italian leather, just gorgeous
mm.
man's shoes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see shoes. I see his shoes. All right. Okay. And then he made me feel what his body kind of felt like. And he was a flirt. So, he was very stylish. His clothes are very stylish and I started to describe, what I was seeing and what I was feeling. And then I started hearing stuff. And then I noticed that his feet were pointed at a particular direction. And so I was like, okay, so he's looking over here. So I'm pretty much sure I'm going with somebody who's sitting in this section.
Mm.
And I'll be darned if that was right. Yeah. The woman's like, that was my brother. No, that's my
Oh,
brother. He always dressed like to the nines, like, oh my gosh. So that was my first one. And in class in front of people, I had no idea, you know. I was
wow.
recently looking at videos um, of the first time I sat at an event doing, like nobody was videoing me, but I took a little short video of my booth and it was in November of 2019. So for all the people out there who start late, like this is really possible. You don't have to have been raised up talking to spirit or seeing dead people or, feeling things or all of that. Um, you just don't. Just know that it's possible. I think it's possible for everybody. We just learn to expand our energy. We learn to build
Mm,
that energy within. I was looking at that video and it was November of 2019. And I remember sitting in my little booth with my little sign and my new little tablecloth. And it was that and scared as shit. Scared, scared. I was only going to do soul chart readings. That's working with a
mm,
pendulum. And I knew how to do that. But I ended up being next to a woman who was a good medium and I was kind of embarrassed because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I didn't know mediumship really well at
mm,
that point. I did, but I was, knocking myself. So I sat there and all of a sudden, Spirit, she came over and sat with me and she said, I want you to read me. She goes, don't you worry about a thing. She goes, I want you to read me. And I was like, oh, geez. how's this going to go? She's very experienced, been in a million shows, been in, all of this. And her dad came through like that. And he had me pick up a paper tablet and a pen
Mm.
and worked with the pen on the paper, and words came out and things, and he came through and blah, blah, blah. And from that day forward, I have always used a pen and paper to, create that connection, to
Mm.
allow the energy to come through the pen. It's fascinating stuff.
Wow. So that was kind of you, that's your way of doing it. That's your method.
Mm,
It's really cool because I mean, she was definitely guided to doing that so that you could feel more comfortable because you
yeah,
wouldn't have felt like you were good enough to do it because you were feeling like, oh, she's so experienced and you did it, you know.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, her dad was cool. Her dad was really cool.
That's cool. That is so cool. And I definitely want to get all your booking details for booking readings with you and things. We'll put it in the description and it's going to be
Yeah.
up on the NDI website as well.
Okay.
Um,
Now I
yeah.
took down my website. Um,
Well, I'm sure they could email you, couldn't they?
I'm going to be using my YouTube channel at the moment for people making the connection with me. So I was looking at how many videos I've done. I think I've done 124 videos.
Whoa.
Um, you know, and it's um, it's just the way I'm going to do things at the moment. I'll
Mm,
have another website,
mm,
but for the moment, I have to simplify, and I'm guided to simplify. I had at one point a Facebook page, a business page, and I I was doing lives. I had my own A1R psychic radio, a radio show. I did
mm,
that for about 6 months, and it was a great experience, and
mm.
all of that. And I did the Facebook lives, and then all of a sudden, the Facebook stuff started feeling really dirty. Like I felt like I had
Mm.
to take a shower after I got off of those. I felt like
Whoa.
the energy was very creepy, and I had creepers in there who were making
Mhm.
comments about, you're a Satan worshiper and you're this and you're going to die in hell and you're all this stupid stuff. Now I know better than that. Dude, I've been dead already, so don't, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, so I made the decision just to get off of it.
Mm,
And I felt so much better.
mm.
And as it
Did
turned,
you grew up Catholic, right?
no, no,
What was your
I didn't grow up with any religion.
mm. Because
No.
I wanted to ask you, based on that comment that someone made about being a Satan worshiper,
Oh,
because
yeah.
a lot of people still believe that doing readings or any kind of divination,
Mm.
receiving messages from spirit and giving them to someone else or whatever it may be, is some kind of evil thing. But
Oh,
you know that it isn't because obviously you've had near death experience, you've died, you've been in the light, you know all of that, and many others too. Why? What would you say if someone says that? Like have a like they are serious about the question. Like why are people making that connection? How do you make a connection between spirit giving a message to someone equals Satan worship? You know?
yeah. It is, I would say primarily, I can't say all because, people love their religions.
Mm,
Um, and if that helps people, then that's fine. But
mm,
in my opinion, and that's worth, 2 cents and a cup of coffee, whatever. But it's, in my opinion, there is so much fear in
mm,
religion. And so religion there then becomes not a love God or love whoever source is, it becomes power and
yes.
oppression and
Yes.
fear. And
Yes.
that doesn't belong in what I work with. Working with
Yeah.
spirit is love and
Yeah.
peace and light and joy and all of that and healing. That doesn't need to be a religion.
Yeah.
That just needs to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's
I
just a
agree with you.
beautiful
And
thing.
the fear, it started such a long time ago. People didn't even realize or recognize when that shift was made between what it is to, love God and then shift into fear and fear-based religion or religions that just have fear-based belief systems within it. And for me, that is so unfortunate. But I do feel like things are changing. And luckily, the type of work that we are in, we are kind of like ahead of the curve. We see the changes before they actually, roll out to the masses.
Yeah,
And it's exciting.
yeah,
And I can see how that can either cause more fear and panic. Because again, change, anything that is change equals scary. When you're trying to control someone, you want to make change seem bad.
yeah.
So exciting times.
Yeah, if you go back and you look at where all these religions started, it was about power and who ran the church and who ran, the wasn't it Michelangelo that got forced to do the Sistine Chapel to paint when his love of art was sculpting? But he was
Yes.
forced by the church, right?
Yeah.
How horrible
There's
is
a lot of
that?
things. There's a lot of things. I'm working with someone who, in her near-death experience, she learned a lot about the true history of where Christianity began and how all of the other um, kind of governing bodies used different methods to control people, but they use the church as like a centralized system, and then
Yeah,
they use that as the hub to control. So there's so many things coming out, related to the Romans and all kinds of things. And it
yeah,
is shocking because history is not what we think it is. It is so different than what we have been told it is for so long. And I really hope I am still alive the day that humans know our true history of everything, you know? Wouldn't that be something?
there might be something, but I'd like to be somewhere on another planet, sipping a
Yeah,
good cocktail, having a
yeah,
little chat with my good friend Edgar Casey or, whatever.
yeah.
I don't know. It's just there's so much, if you've ever read Edgar Casey's story, it's called there was a book called There is a River. And I speak about him because he's one of my guides. I work with Edgar on the other side. He and Ruth Montgomery and Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell and just a few
Mm,
others that come through when I've got questions about things, um,
yes.
about situations or how to help a client or whatever. If
Mm,
it's an answer I'm not hearing or is there a reason I'm not hearing it,
mm,
whatever. And I'll tell you that man, he took some abuse and he
yeah.
still stood his ground. He still was a sleeping prophet. He still helped people who verbally abused him.
Mm,
He still did readings and healings for them.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
it's amazing. Just amazing. Yeah. And he read, but his thing was reading the Bible every year. Like
mm.
that was his thing, reading the Bible every year. For me, just my opinion, the Bible to me has been rewritten by man so many times that it's lost its way. And
Yeah.
to me, when I think about the Bible, I think, you know what? If it was in its original form, I
Hmm.
imagine it to be like a channeling,
Yes.
right?
Me
This is a
too. I imagine
channeling.
it to be the same. Yeah.
This is a channeling, and this is, the guidance or whatever. But it ended up getting changed you know.
Yeah, we talked
Mhm.
about that the last time in our author group meeting. We were talking about King James version
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and how he just decided to change things because, well, he could. I mean, and no, and people don't even like they just follow it. Oh, I'm reading the King James version of the Bible. But you don't even know that he just changed things in there just because he could and wanted to.
yeah.
And now you're following it literally like it is the word of God. It is not.
No,
And I don't know, but you can read some things and immediately see like this is not coming from a place of love and
yeah,
unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. You can see it isn't. So each to
yeah.
their own. We're all on our own journeys.
Yeah, no judgment, for sure, with regards to if people need that to get themselves through, then that's great. But
Yeah.
always know, um, eh, don't cast stones, like don't
Yeah.
cast stones on
Yeah.
something.
Because it's kind of lazy to just accept everything blindly. But it's
Yeah,
equally lazy to just reject everything blindly. So
yeah,
be diligent, do your own research, do your own homework, and don't just follow people blindly or reject anything blindly. And use your intuition. I mean, we all have it, and it
yeah,
works wonderfully every single time. It will not let you down.
no.
So practice and use it. That's the best we
Spirit,
can do.
spirit has me doing something that's very interesting now, and there it I do I don't know how it happened. It's just something that happens now. When somebody sits in front of me and or on a reading online or whatever, and they're unsure about what it is they want, um, I'll ask, want to talk about health? Do you want to talk about family or relationships or whatever? Let's talk about health. Okay. Spirit has me do a scan energetically of their body. I can feel everything going on. I can
Mm,
feel that knee that's giving them trouble. I can feel the pain in their side. I can feel
mhm,
the gash in the, back of their head where
mm,
they fell back. I can feel the
mhm,
heart stuff. I can feel all the stuff. And so I do a quick scan and I write it all down and then I go over it with them. And then while I'm
mm,
going over it with them, I do not diagnose, I do not prescribe. I'm not a
mm,
doctor. I always
mm,
remind people, here's what
mm,
spirit's telling me, here's what spirit's making me feel, and
mm,
I'll be darned if it is not flipping right on the money,
mm.
right on the money. So when people have doubts, a lot of times I'll start with that and they're like, okay, something's real here, you know.
Yes,
This
I can
this is
open up
making me,
now
yeah,
because you've proven to me without you because there's no way you could have known that I
how
have
would
a
I
pain in
know?
my knee or my
Yeah,
left toe is throbbing. Like how would you know that? So
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
I
How
think
would
that,
I know?
it's just another permission slip for people because we're so tightly wound. Everything is just so serious and everything is just so negative. Like we don't have to be like that,
No,
you know.
no. I get like that too. Wound up about bills and stuff and ah, you know, what are you going to do?
Well,
Hit
we're
me.
human. We should give ourselves grace for being human.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I just need to take it a moment at a time. So that's what I do. And as I'm looking out over this marsh and we're speaking, and I see these beautiful egrets out there, I mean, like, how can you get mad how can you be upset looking at that? How can I complain when I get to see that? I can't really. So thank you for giving me this view. Thank you for letting me spend time with you, and enjoying the conversation and, sharing the experience, sharing the stories, and hopefully, somehow, some way, these stories will give people that that confirmation or that validation they need that
Yes.
that says there's more. There's
Yeah,
more.
there's more.
There's
There's
more,
more.
you know.
Yeah, there's more.
Uh,
You can let go of the fear, you can be open, allow yourself to feel loved because you are unconditionally loved and accepted.
yeah,
That is, if I can shout that off mountaintops and tell everyone, live your life like you are loved unconditionally because you are, that's
yeah,
what I would do all day, every day. And I do my best to do that, and for myself too, because I forget it too.
yeah.
And I'm so lucky to know you and all of you
Oh,
guys. Like, I am so lucky. You guys are the best.
oh, thank you so much. It's been absolutely a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And please send me if you want to. Do I have your YouTube? Can you send me
Yeah,
your YouTube so
I
I can put
sent
it
you
in the
my
description?
YouTube. You've
Yeah.
got my email. So my email and my YouTube are the things that I'm using now. And I'll later down the road, when I'm guided to step back into, the website thing and all of that, I'll get that back up. It will, I feel like something's gonna change. And so I'm not freaking out about the website coming down or my LLC coming down. I put the kibosh on all of that. And, I'm just checking in with spirit. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking do it. Just gonna do it. And let's see what happens. Let's see where the chips fall. Because I feel like there's change going to happen where my title may be different. My
Mm,
focus may be different. There may be a different
mm,
modality. There may be a turn somewhere that I'm not seeing yet or haven't experienced yet. So um,
yeah.
there had to be a change.
Yes.
So so that's okay.
Good.
So and I'm saving money at the same time. So you know,
Good. Good. Yes. Good.
shit's just
Well,
expensive. Huh?
yeah, it is. I hear you. I know.
You
I know.
know of all,
Yeah,
and I self-published my own book, and let me tell you that I know it's expensive. It's
it is.
expensive. And I created my own Oracle deck, and that's expensive. And I am,
Oh, that's probably the most expensive. Doing card decks.
yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to do another printing because it's so expensive. Yeah, yeah.
Well, things are
So,
changing.
yeah,
So,
so we'll see. We're gonna flip the coins up in the air and see what they land on.
yes. Yes.
And let's have
Well, I
fun.
look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you
Okay.
so much for spending some time with me. I love you. I
Have you
appreciate you.
back.
I'll speak to
Uh,
you soon.
All right. Don't forget to step into joy.
I will. I'll always do that.
All right. Bye.
Love you.